Hey guys, welcome back to another Gideon Stuff adventure. So currently I am on my way to the Gilman tunnels, and we will talk all about them when we get there. But to get there, I'm driving through the Valles, Caldera. I'm coming in from the north, and I love this area. The Valles Caldera area, interesting wordage there, is among the most beautiful places on earth, in my opinion, and I'll show you why. Isn't that beautiful? Man, I love it. This drive on New Mexico 485 between Jemez and Los Alamos is one of my favorite drives in the whole world. I absolutely freaking love it out here. It is gorgeous. Now, I'm not going to go too deep into the geology of the area right now. Yes, I do have an armchair in the back of my truck, mind your own business. I'm not going to go too much into the geology of this area. I'm going to go over it briefly, though, because it's really interesting. The Valles Caldera is obviously a caldera, which is a volcanic crater, essentially. A lot of magmatism in this area. We're very close to the Jemez lineament. We will talk about that more at Gilman tunnels. But most of the lithologies in the area are volcanic, and they're fairly young. The youngest eruption, the most recent eruption from the Valles was about 1.5 million years ago. And so when you're driving through here, you're going to see lots and lots of tuff units, rhyolitic tuffs. They're typically cream to white to kind of these orangish reddish colors, very, very pretty. But you'll see large columns of them all over the place. And then there are some basalt units out here, some more mafic igneous rocks. Actually, out here, well, close to Los Alamos, is where I learned how to measure section. I still have my field notebook from there, and I have it written down here, a measuring section of the Teshigre, Otowe, and Tasonkwe rhyolite flows. So, yeah, just a wonderful, wonderful area, fascinating geology, and gosh dang, is it gorgeous. Gosh, I love northern New Mexico. You know what? If you do want to know a little bit more about how this formed, go ahead and feel free to pause right here. Read this very, very helpful little sign from the National Park Service that is put up here. If we look out this way, you can see this little dome here. That's one of these lava domes. Sorry about that, I cut out some wind noise. What I was saying was that at several points during the recent geologic past, Valles Caldera was home to several lakes called crater lakes, which are common occurrences in volcanic calderas. Yeah, if you ever get the opportunity to drive New Mexico 4, I would highly recommend it. We have these towering monoliths and these craggy cliffs all through these canyons, and it's absolutely spectacular. Absolutely spectacular. Gosh, I love it. Yeah, there are a ton of awesome adventure videos I could make in this area. There are some really, really neat things to see. Battleship Rock's pretty cool. The Jemez Soda Dam is neat. The hiking trails out here are absolutely fantastic. Las Conchas Trail is one of my favorites. Yeah, there is all kinds of stuff out here that is just breathtaking, just awesome, awesome. You know, if I had come up with the Gideon Stuff Adventures videos ideas, the idea for Gideon Stuff adventure videos long ago, I would have filmed some of the adventures I've had out here, but, you know, back then I wasn't an influencer, so, you know, not everything I did had to be spewed onto the internet. I'm just kidding. I make these videos because I want to share this stuff with you guys, because this is awesome stuff, and you all deserve to see it. Alright, you know what? I might as well just give a geologic overview of the entire damn place, right? So, pull over on the side of the road. What do we have here? This is a little brachiopod fossil. This is a some species of Compsognathia fossil. But let's look around here. So this is a Paleozoic aged animal. This is about 300 million years old, plus or minus a little bit. But look at this. We've also got these bunch of the igneous rocks we're talking about. Look at this. This is like a little bit of a basaltic andesite right here. Got some rhyolite bits. This is young stuff. This is Cenozoic. This is recent volcanism. Where the heck did this come from? Well, I'll show you. All right, so right here we got a little wash, a gully by the road, a little arroyo, and we've got a bunch of different rocks mixed in here. Rocks erode and fall into the water and get moved all over the place, and so when you come to an arroyo like this, it's a great spot to see an assembly of all the different lithologies in an area. So we've got a bunch of these volcanic rocks, and that's because these are the youngest rocks. They are sitting on top of everything else. They're at the very top of these mountains. But beneath them, in a lot of cases, are Paleozoic sedimentary rocks and some Mesozoic sedimentary rocks too. I don't know if we'll see any of those today, but they are out here. We'll talk about them as we see them. So the further I move away from the arroyo, a little bit higher up on the mountain, we start seeing more and more limestone. These are some of our Paleozoic passive margin sediments. There's some there. There's some. We still got a bunch of boulders of Cenozoic volcanic stuff falling down in here. But if I were to continue going, I would find large exposures of these limestones. Well, and just a few feet away from where I stopped recording, we had this limestone outcrop. So this is bedrock. This is an outcrop. This is what the mountain's made out of. A bunch of this other volcanic stuff we see lying around, this is all float. This is all falling down from higher up and kind of burying these limestones. But yep, this here are Paleozoic limestones. This is probably Carboniferous, I would say. There's a little fossil right in there. So there's a fossil too. But he's stuck. So yeah, there we go. These are some of the sed units in the area. Back in the wash, got this big volcanic boulder here. Then, oh look at that. We've got some of these limestones too. Now, I was looking at, this is limestone. This one, I'm not sure if this is float or if it's outcrop. Kind of hard to tell in the arroyo sometimes. This is a big old piece. But, got crinoids. There's a really nice brachiopod. This thing's just chock full of fossils. Here's a little education for you guys. So, focus up camera. See this stuff? These little fossils here? So many times I've taken people fossil hunting and they found these like, oh, fish scales, I found a fish fossil. Nope, these are bryozoans. They are a simple animal, kind of similar to sponges in a lot of ways. And this here looks like it might be a cross-section of a shell. But yeah. Coolio. Here's something cool that I always enjoy seeing. I haven't found any great fossils today, but I found some interesting stuff. So this little brachiopod here has kind of broke open. You can see the calcite crystals that are filling the cavity where the body used to be. That's pretty cool. There's a little crinoid. There's a nice little brachiopod. Oh, looks like this guy here, maybe that one, maybe that one. I think those are Neospirifer brachiopods. They're buried pretty good. I can't really tell, but I'm pretty sure this one is. But I find a lot of Neospirifer in this area. That's one of my favorite places to come to find them, actually. And those are my favorite kinds of brachiopods. I think they look the coolest. Ah, screw it. I decided we'd stop by Soda Dam too, since it's on the way. So we'll stop and talk about this. You know, this video I intended to just be about Gilman tunnels, I promise. But oh man, this area is too damn cool. So right here, we're by the Jemez River. Ah, that smell. Yummy, yummy, yummy. I'm being half sarcastic, actually. Yeah, fully sarcastic. Whew, smells like farts because, oh my goodness, yep, smells a little bit like sulfur. And I don't think I'm going to try and talk over the water very much, so I will insert something explaining the geology of this. All right, let's talk a little bit about Soda Dam and the geology and how it got where it's at. Soda Dam is made out of travertine, which is basically a variation of limestone. It's a chemical sedimentary rock that is deposited by hydrothermal activity, and Soda Dam is located on a hot springs. The Jemez Mountains area is well known for its numerous hot springs, and these hot springs occur because there's a lot of residual heat under the surface from all the volcanism that has passed the area over the years. A lot of potential for geothermal energy, actually, and New Mexico, geothermal energy is just so interesting, but New Mexico really has the potential to become a world leader in geothermal energy. We've got tons and tons of awesome places that can be tapped for that. But anyways, there's a lot of heat underground, and it heats up all this water, and this water is mineral rich. And in the case of Soda Dam, a lot of this water is flowing through limestone units, a lot of Permian limestone units, and Pennsylvania, Mississippi, and stuff too. And so it's collecting a lot of calcite, calcium carbonate, and redepositing it at Soda Dam at this fissure. Now, the way Soda Dam formed is that there's a couple of faults that run through the area, and we talk about this a little bit more when I'm at the Gilman tunnels. But there's the Jemez fault zone is a major fault zone in the system, and it passes through the area where Soda Dam is at, and basically it breaks apart the rock and creates passages for this geothermal water to come to the surface. Now, I want to read a little bit from one of my favorite books ever, and we're going to plug this book real quick. These are my Bibles. You guys see these in like my knife reviews. I use these as my backdrop. There's two versions of this book, Northern New Mexico, which is this one, and the Southern New Mexico one, which I have somewhere else. Fantastic books. If you're interested in geology and you're ever driving through New Mexico, pick a couple of these up. They are fantastic resources. They're published by the New Mexico Bureau of Geology and Mineral Resources, and they are just absolutely fantastic. They focus on public lands, parks, things like that. So they do have a little section here on Soda Dam, and I want to read a little bit about this travertine dam and the hot springs too. And I will actually leave a link to the New Mexico Bureau of Geology and Mineral Resources website in the description, and specifically to their article on Soda Dam, because I'm basically going to be reading straight from it. Anyways, quote, "The hot spring associated with Soda Dam, known as the main spring, is one of 15 springs and seeps that discharge along geologic faults in this area. The temperature of Soda Dam spring varies over time, reaching a maximum of 118 degrees Fahrenheit or 48 degrees Celsius. Warm water algae and actively depositing travertine can be seen in spring waters across the road from Soda Dam. Spring waters at Soda Dam contain a wide variety of dissolved elements, including elevated levels of arsenic and radium derived from groundwater passing through volcanic rocks. And some of these elements can cause the lovely smell that you sometimes encounter at Soda Dam. The Travertine Dam. Soda Dam displays many features commonly seen in travertine deposits, including layered crusts and mounds, shallow pools, and grottos. One feature that is very unusual for a travertine deposit is that Soda Dam actually was built over and across an actively flowing mountain stream. So yeah, the river that we see there, the Jemez River that's flowing through the dam, that's not the geothermal spring that is building the dam. The dam just happened to build itself over that, which is kind of interesting. Highway construction in the mid-1970s cut a notch at the west end of Soda Dam, and you guys see that in the video shot I show over the top of the dam. You'll see where the road goes through. That's on that west side. Changing the plumbing such that very little hot water now discharges along the crest of the dam. As a result, almost no travertine is actively being deposited, and Soda Dam is slowly disintegrating. Deposition of travertine is now largely restricted to a small area across the road from Soda Dam. Given sufficient time, this tiny travertine deposit might eventually rebuild a new Soda Dam. So yeah, the dam is slowly eroding away, and one day it will be gone. There's a lot of interesting things to see out there that I didn't have time to get to, such as a fault surface that they talk about here, multiple unconformities, including the Great Unconformity, some of the rocks that we see out there. I'm not going to talk about too much because, again, we talk about more of this at Gilman Tunnel, but the rocks that the Gilman Tunnel is dug through, these Precambrian gneisses, are exposed out there. And by the way, the place that Soda Dam is located is called San Diego Canyon, and there's a lot of things over there. Dating of Soda Dam itself suggests it formed in the last 7,000 years, which is pretty cool, but there are travertine deposits that are significantly older than that on either side of the canyon, showing that there was travertine being deposited in the area for thousands of years. So yeah, just absolutely fantastic little area. Very, very cool. Really neat and definitely worth checking out. Should have worn my other shoes. I've got my driving shoes on right now. Ouch. Bonked my head. Of course, there is graffiti in here, which sucks, but what you gonna do about it? Come up here to the altar. Look at the patterns in this stone. Oh. Look at that. Let's go ahead and bring out my flashlight. Yeah, look at the water dripping off of there in the back. Let's get closer to that. Oh. There, we squeeze our way in. Yep, you can see those stalactites and stalagmites growing. And this stuff here with the ripples, we call this flow stone.
GPS signal lost.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was using my GPS and I came to a cave. Look at that. Wow. I am hunched over, so I'm gonna go ahead and crawl out of here. I'll tell you something else too. Man, is it hot in here. And yes, I know I'm wearing my jacket, but yeah, it's cool, cool, cool. Look at them beams. All right, so now we're on the back side. Look at those trees. They're just becoming part of the rock. Oh man, that's cool. Man, that's cool. Okay, so right now we're in the little village of Jemez Springs, which by the way is definitely worth visiting. Beautiful, beautiful little village in here. Wow, got a stutter today. But what I wanted to talk about is actually... Ta-da! Over there, those red rocks. Pretty striking, huh? And then if we look over here, I picked a bad spot with the trees. But what we can see is we've got kind of this thick, whitish unit. And then let's zoom in here, see if you guys can see this. And about right here, about in the tree line, we've got these kind of deep maroon red rocks sticking out. So these red rocks are red beds. In this area, they are Triassic and Permian red beds. And they belong, in this case, to the Abo, which is the Permian, and the Chinle formations, which is the Triassic. And I can't believe I've never talked about those two formations on the channel before yet, because they're very prolific in New Mexico, and they're some of my favorites ever. I'm not sure what this unit is out here, actually. This right here, that's like really close, like this ridge here, that's Abo. The deep maroon beds here are Abo as well. And so we can see here that we have those tuffs, those rhyolites, whoops, sitting on top. So this is the bandolier tuff, or one of the rhyolitic tuff units out here. And that is, again, that's like a Pliocene or Pleistocene aged eruption. And then underneath we have the Abo formation, which is Permian. So it's about 250 to 300 million years old. So we got this big unconformity here, but basically these older units were uplifted at some point, probably during the Laramide orogeny. There's probably some relation to the Rio Grande Rift opening as well, but they were uplifted, and then, you know, 1.2 million years ago or so, this stuff was erupted on top of it. So if we go and look through this, you can see that these rocks here are kind of horizontal. That's how rocks are normally deposited. All rocks are deposited horizontally. That's the law of original horizontality. But if we start looking out throughout these lower sedimentary rocks, we're going to see that they're folded and they're bent, and that's because they've been deformed. This stuff that erupted up here has not really been deformed yet, not by that much. There are some areas where it's deformed and there's some faulting going on and stuff, but by and large, kind of big picture, that's what's going on. Now, isn't that just gorgeous? And this is a great spot to see that transition, that boundary between the younger ash flows and the older red beds. Those red beds are very classic to the American West. Think places like Monument Valley, but honestly, this is a great spot to see them. Well guys, we made it, finally. The Gilman tunnels. Pretty freaking sweet. Let's go ahead and set a little bit of context. So right here we are in Guadalupe Canyon. Down there is the Guadalupe River, and actually this Guadalupe Canyon is a box canyon. And before we start talking about the geology, let's talk a little bit about the history of the area, the human element. So these tunnels were first dug in the 1920s for logging. They were taking a bunch of logs out of this area, and they dug these tunnels so they could take a narrow gauge train through here. And then in the 1930s, they modified the tunnels. They made them a little bit higher. You'll see here, these tunnels are really tall. They modified the tunnels so they could get log trucks through. And they had a train station down at Gilman Camp, that's down here in the bottom of the valley. And so these log trucks would load up with all these logs and drive them to the train station. They'd be loaded on the train and taken to the sawmill in Bernalillo. Now, my family has a long history of logging. My paternal grandfather's side of the family were all loggers. And so I know a lot about moving wood. And yeah, this is a rough area to try and get trees out of. So they went to pretty extreme measures digging these tunnels, which I think is just awesome. Now, unfortunately, in the 1940s, there was a huge flood. Both the Guadalupe River and the Jemez River suffered catastrophic flooding that completely wiped out the rail line, and they never rebuilt it. And so these tunnels have pretty much been abandoned. So there's a little bit of the history. Let's go ahead and just take in some of this scenery. I don't know what that cave is, but I desperately want to be in there right now. All right, so now let's go ahead and talk some geology. The rocks that these tunnels are dug through are the oldest rocks that we'll have seen on this little adventure. These are a granitic gneiss that was emplaced about 1.6 billion years ago. Now, granitic gneiss, why do they call it that? Well, because this was originally a granite and it underwent some metamorphism and became foliated. And so they call it a granitic gneiss. Woo! Oh, that's sweet. Very echoey in here. Again, look how high the ceilings are. Holy crap. This thing is tall. Anyways, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the granite, how it got here. If you watched my video where I climbed Pickens Rock in Tres Piedras, New Mexico, very similar story. That rock was an orthogneiss. This rock is not called an orthogneiss, and I think it's because, I mean, let's find a piece of this rock and look at it. I mean, look at that. if someone just handed me this with no context, I would say, actually I can see in this piece of rock here, actually, you can see kind of the black lines. Those are biotite mica. You can see they're all kind of aligned. They're all kind of pointing the same direction. So I picked up a rock earlier where I was like, wow, this just looks like a piece of granite. This here, yeah, I can definitely see the foliations. The big pink crystals are potassium feldspars, and then the kind of translucent gray stuff is quartz. So yeah, there we go. That's why it's called a granitic gneiss. Oh, look at that. Look at those pipes. Yeah, this rock, on the other hand, like if someone just handed this to me, I'd be like, yeah, that's just a granite. But look at this. This is a pretty rock. Feldspars, all that biotite, of course, this quartz all filling in. It's a pretty rock. I like that. All right, let's talk regional tectonics. So this area here is actually in a pretty interesting spot in the state. We are right squished between the Sierra de Nacimiento and the Jemez lineament, as well as the Jemez fault. So the Jemez lineament is a suture zone. It's an area of kind of crustal weakness where we had two pieces of crust slammed together, like a continental crust and an island arc slammed together, and then they were kind of stitched together. They're kind of welded together. You can think of it as welding one landmass to another. And what's interesting about the Jemez lineament is it's probably also responsible for some of the volcanism that we see in like the Valles, because the lineament is a weak spot in Earth's crust, and it probably provided a conduit for magma to move closer to the surface and then erupt. And it was probably kind of reactivated by the Rio Grande Rift, where we're extending things. There's a lot of magma already moving through a system, and some of it just found, oh look, here's a nice little trail up through this lineament. But very, very important feature, and this happened, the Jemez lineament first formed billions of years ago, right? About 1.6, that 1.7, 1.6 transition zone. In fact, these granites right here may have started as a stitching pluton, which is basically a bunch of granites that well up and like solidify in one of these suture zones and kind of hold things together in a way. So anyways, these are the basement rocks of the Jemez Mountains, and these rocks used to be part of a mountain range that existed 1.6 billion years ago. Very, very old rocks. Very, very cool. The metamorphic fabric, that's that texture, that foliation, that was put on these rocks happened much later after they'd already formed as a granite. Other rocks in the area include Mississippian and Pennsylvanian passive margin sediments. These are where we had an ocean intruding New Mexico, and we lay down a lot of limestones and such. And actually, here we are back at my truck. Let's take a look at this scenery. Absolutely gorgeous. So anyway, sitting right on top of these granites are these Paleozoic sedimentary rocks. And that transition between the granites and the sedimentary rocks is the Great Unconformity, which a lot of people know about. I mentioned a couple of times. It should be exposed out here somewhere. I kind of want to walk around and look for that. And then above those Mississippian and Pennsylvanian rocks, we have Permian rocks. And the Permian rocks are both marine and non-marine rocks. The Abo Formation that we talked about earlier is kind of represents an area, a time when the oceans retreated and we had more of a river delta environment. So think about a beach where there's rivers dumping a bunch of sediment. And actually, that red color in the Abo could be from minerals eroded out of these granites, which is pretty cool. You know, everything kind of comes full circle. Moving out of the Permian, there are some Mesozoic aged rocks exposed out here. Specifically the Triassic Moenkopi Formation, which we already talked about. Those are the red beds. Some members of the Chinle are exposed out here. Those are both really, really classic North American stratigraphic units. Just south of here, actually, near San Isidro, the entire Mesozoic is exposed. There's rocks from the entire Mesozoic. You start off in that Triassic with that Chinle, or maybe you start with the Moenkopi, I can't remember right now. But you start with Triassic, move into the Jurassic, you got like the Somerset, or the Somerville formation is out there. More importantly, the brushy basin member of the Morrison Formation is out there. And that's where a lot of New Mexico's Jurassic dinosaurs have come from, including Seismosaurus, well, the dinosaur formerly known as Seismosaurus, now Diplodocus hallurum, which was one of the longest sauropods to ever live. And then out there you also have the Dakota Sandstone and the Menko Shale, which are, again, classic Cretaceous units in the western United States. And these represent the ocean coming back in. So during the Jurassic and the late Triassic, New Mexico was completely terrestrial. And then during the early to middle Cretaceous, an ocean intruded again, the Western Interior Seaway, and those where we get the Dakota Sandstone, which was kind of like deltas and marginal marine, and the Menko Shale, which was deeper marine. And then the ocean retreated after the Cretaceous. And out here, we should start seeing, in fact, we see way up there at the very top, that's more of that Bandelier Tuff. Those are some of those very young erupted rocks that we were talking about. Now, a big part of this area, remember I mentioned the Sierra Nacimiento? What's really important about the Sierra Nacimiento is that it's kind of related genetically to the Colorado Plateau, right? And it's this uplift that started about the middle Cretaceous, well, about the late Cretaceous, 75 million years ago, ended about 45 million years ago, the Laramide orogeny, uplifted a bunch of this stuff. And then this area was also deformed by the Rio Grande Rift, which started about 30 million years ago and is technically still going today. And so, yeah, we've got all kinds of stuff going on here. These Bandelier Tuff units, again, that is very recent volcanism that's being erupted out here. We also have the Jemez Fault, which is a major, what we call a rift-bounding fault that goes through this area. We actually technically saw it at Soda Dam. I didn't mention it, but it goes through Soda Dam. And yeah, that's offsetting a lot of the rock units around here. So that's why sometimes you'll see younger rocks next to older rocks. They're like, these shouldn't be next to each other. The younger rocks should be on top. It's because you had a fault that dropped the younger rocks down, popped the older rocks up. So let's go ahead and keep walking around and find that unconformity. I'm actually really surprised that this road is paved as far as it is. It's kind of cool. So we're still just walking along, just checking it out. We are actually out of the box. It is right there. Man, it's gorgeous out here. Oh my gosh, it's gorgeous. Alrighty. Now, we've got a better view of what's going on here. Alright, so this stuff here, it's Bandelier Tuff. Those are our rhyolites. Those are our young rocks. Right here, you see that kind of grayish ridge? I bet you anything that is one of our limestone units. That tabular, massive gray shape. It's just screaming limestone. Remember what we were talking about with washouts earlier? Look what we found here. Limestone, baby. I bet you this is some of our Mississippian stuff that has fallen from a little bit higher up. That's some old rocks right there, guys. Oh, well, look at this. So here's some of our beautiful, beautiful granite. I don't think this is outcrop, though. I think this is still float here. And then look at this limestone right here. Look at all these little tiny brachiopod fossils, as well as some crinoids. Looks like some echinoderm. Oops, spines in there. That's like from a starfish or a sea urchin type of thing. And I saw some bryozoan bits too. So, very cool. Here's something cool that I just walked right over. So this rock here, I thought was just a conglomerate. I was looking at it, look, there is a really nice, focus camera, crinoid fossil. And there is a pretty good brachiopod. And I was like, oh, this must be a conglomerate that was like weathering all kinds of stuff and collecting it. But no, this is actually part of one of these limestones. And look, we've got all kinds of class of like other stuff in here, like little feldspars. Huh. So this must have been like a river started dumping into like a coral reef or something. That is really freaking cool. Oh, by the way, what do I got in the pocket? Old Tonto Guy's Manix 2 XL. Don't have a fixed blade with me today because I didn't think I'd need it. Just hiking along this road. That is freaking awesome. And boom, There it is, guys. There's our great unconformity. So, granitic gneiss, and then bam, right on top, those are a bunch of our limestones. There's about 1.2 billion years missing between those two units. That's pretty sweet. I've decided that I want to do a review cutting here one of these days. That is, that's a new goal of mine. Park my truck right here where it's at, except spin her around, so that's in the background. Do a review cutting right there. I think that'd be absolutely spectacular, if you guys could even hear me over the river. I guess we'll see how the audio on this turns out and make a decision. So it's starting to rain a little bit. I don't want to be caught in here in the rain, and unfortunately this is not my final destination today. I've got a lot of driving ahead of me, but I do want to run down there real quick and just, honestly, I kind of want to go into that little cave, but I'm probably just going to run down there and, I don't know, just sit by the river. Oh my goodness. Not sure I can show that on YouTube, that hyper-realistic graffiti. Honestly, actually, some of the graffiti here is pretty funny. Mr. Krusty Lips, hilarious. A lot of people talking about Jesus. Kind of cool. Toot, love it. BTS Army, I purple you. I don't even want to know what that's about. But you know, I've actually got an interesting philosophy when it comes to graffiti. I sometimes don't mind it. Now, I do mind, like what we saw there in Soda Dam. I don't like graffiti that's on, like those carbonate minerals are very delicate. You don't want to be messing with them. That kind of hurts me a little bit. I don't like seeing like historical monuments or buildings defaced. But like stuff like this doesn't really bother me. And especially stuff on this guardrail, things like that. It doesn't really bother me because, I mean, these are people living their life and celebrating being alive. And I don't know, I support that. And a lot of times it's very artistic. It's just a snapshot of someone's life. And we're all looking for immortality in some little way. And heck, this is a way to achieve it. You have now written your name on a 1.6 billion year old rock. And who knows how much longer it's going to be here. Who knows how much longer Rosa's name is going to be there. I don't know, I find that to be kind of interesting. And heck, this graffiti's not hurting this rock any. I used to think that maybe it looked a little bit ugly, but you know what? There is more than enough to enjoy here. Well guys, here we are. Yeah, that is stunning. I think that red unit out there is our Triassic Moenkopi Formation. Well guys, that's probably going to be the end of this adventure. If I see anything else interesting as I'm driving out of here, I guess I will throw it in. We shall see. But yeah, a lot of fun. Definitely recommend coming to Gilman Tunnels. Very easy to get to. If you come from the south, there where New Mexico 4 meets 485, or whatever this road is. I'm drawing a blank for some reason. You just get on the junction there, drive up through Gilman. It's a one-lane road, but it is paved, so you can get a passenger car up here. If you come in from the north, you can get on that road that's up there by Felton Lake and come down. I've been on that road before, not all the way down through here, obviously, but yeah, very, very cool. This is my first time here. This has been on my list for a while. You know, I'm Del Norte. I'm from northern New Mexico, and I just never been over here before. Done a lot of running around in Jemez, but never made it up here. And I'm really glad I did. This is one of my new favorite spots ever. I absolutely love it up here. Gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. All right, but that is going to be it. As always with these videos, any further reading or research that you guys might want to do, I will link in the description. Rambling about geology, again, we're just rambling about geology as I'm out here walking. If I made mistakes or said something that I didn't mean, slip my words, I will put text on the screen correcting myself, or I'll insert another piece of video. But I just have so much fun with these. Just walking somewhere beautiful and just kind of rambling about geology, not worrying about about too much. So yeah, there we go. Big shout out to my channel members at the cowboy level. I appreciate everything they do. If you want to be a channel member and get access to exclusive perks, there is a button down below. Yeah, for the rest of you, if you enjoyed this video, leave it a like, comment below, and subscribe. I've been Gideon, and I'll see you in the next one. Adios.